parts of Metro Manila grappling with water shortage.
The Philippines tops a list of countries most susceptible to hazards caused by climate change.
Climate change is defined by National Geographic as a long-term shift in global or regional climate patterns. Often, climate change refers specifically to the rise in global temperature from the mid-20th century to present. Though natural factors have a contribution to the change in climate, their impact is so low and slow, the reason why scientists believe that human activity is the main factor that drives the world to severe climate issues. According to DOST Pag-asa on 2011, the warming of the climate system is most likely caused by human activities, and it is observed in the increasing greenhouse gas concentration from human activities such as land use change and the burning of fossil fuels. Due to the excessive production of carbon dioxide and other air pollutants that collects in the atmosphere and absorb sunlight and solar radiance, this will last for years and centuries and trap heat, which causes global warming, which then lead to climate change. While climate change has affected every country in the world in some way, Asia has taken the brunt of the impact, and one of its countries is Philippines. A report issued in 2019 by the Institute for Economics and Peace stated that the Philippines is the country most vulnerable to the climate crisis, wherein due to global heating, sea temperature increase, which in result caused typhoon to become less frequent but much stronger in the country. In particular is the deadliest typhoon Haiyan, which has the wind speed of 195 mph and has killed 6,300 people, as well as leaving millions homeless.
For an instance, climate change has a great impact on our country's energy consumption, infrastructure, agriculture, and healthcare. First, in energy, the increased chance of extreme weather events would reduce hydropower production, which accounts for 20% of the country's energy supply, as well as could cause widespread damage to energy infrastructure and services. In addition, there will be more power outages on average due to an increased demand for power. Second, in infrastructure, due to our frequent exposure to extreme weather events, there will be an increased damage in our buildings, roads, bridges, and water and sanitation facilities, thus continuously decrease our life expectancy and economic growth. Third, in agriculture, based on analysis made by the International Rice Research Institute, our grain yield will decrease by at least 10% for each 1% increase in growing season minimum temperature in the dry season. Moreover, due to the increase in temperature, there will be a decrease in the production of crops, causing the rise of food prices and food imports in our country, and increased pest infestation, thus making it hard for both the producers and consumers, that could cause farmers to not have enough income to support their families' needs, while consumers will not also be able to afford it, especially people in the urban poor. Fourth and last is human health, where due to disastrous weather events, there will be probably a lot of casualties and loss of livelihoods, as well as increased risk from waterborne disease caused by flooding as a result of typhoons. To support this report, a study was conducted by Evan Alova 2020, an author and website named Value Champion, which enumerate the top 5 countries in the Asia Pacific that are most affected by climate change, and overall the Philippines ranked 3rd. While ranking first in the Climate Risk Index, it represents how the country have already experienced 6 severe weather events, resulted in at least a $3.35 million economic loss per capita, one of the highest losses recorded. As well as, due to global heating, the ice caps at the North Pole and South Pole starts to melt, causing the increase of sea rise levels. A study conducted by Climate Central shows that 150 million will be submerged by 2050, and about 70% of these people at risk are Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. Climate change also affects sea life. The increase of sea temperatures and pollution in oceans causes the destruction of coral reefs surrounding the Philippines, which in result causes the migration or death of fishes. Overall, climate change has had a considerable impact on multiple sectors of the Philippine economy.
To solve the problem of climate change in our country, we must reduce the emission of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, and it is done through mitigation, based on a study conducted by SAGICE and Sombilla 2012. Mitigation is done through reducing the flow of heat-trapping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It is done by reducing the sources of these gases, namely, the burning of fossil fuels, the use of landfills for waste resource management, the use of refrigerants such as refrigerators and air conditioners, and the fuel combustion in car engines. In conclusion, reducing the source of these gases also means reducing our carbon footprint, as well as it can be done by enhancing the sinks that absorb and store these gases, namely through reforestation, improving soil fertility, long rotation plantations, and forest protection activities.
Despite mitigation efforts stabilizing the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere at a low level, it is still not enough to avoid climate change and its consequences. Thus, adaptation must accompany mitigation against climate change based on a study conducted by SAGICE and Sombilla 2012. Adaptation is done through adapting to life in a changing climate or adjusting to the expected climate of our future. Its goal is to reduce our vulnerability to the harmful effect of climate change, and it is done through the adapting of different AFNR sectors such as water sources, agriculture, forestry, coastal, and marine resources. First in water sources. Water catchment areas and groundwater resources must be protected, and water supply management and maintenance must be improved. And second, in agriculture, new crops must be introduced and soil fertility maintenance must be implemented. And third, in forestry, the management system of deforestation, reforestation, and afforestation must be improved, and agroforestry must be promoted to improve forest goods and services. Fourth, and lastly, in coastal and marine resources must be protected and conserved, and structural measures must be implemented. In conclusion, in order to solve climate change, we must mitigate the emission of greenhouse gases and at the same time must adapt to its changes.